Hello and welcome to this Skuid short video where we're going to be taking a look at how you can connect a Salesforce org into Skuid Platform. Before we move on to the demo, let's just take a quick look at the artifacts and steps involved in getting connected. Within our target Skuid Platform site, we need to know the callback URL, and from our Salesforce org, we need to know the My Domain and the client ID and secret of the connected app. The first step in the process is to install Skuid within the Salesforce org you want to connect to. Then within that Salesforce org, we'll need to create a new connected app referencing the callback URL of our Skuid Platform site. Once we've created the connected app, we'll be given a client ID and secret. In step 3 of the process, back in our Skuid Platform site, we'll then create an authentication provider referencing the Salesforce org's My Domain and the connected app's client ID and secret. Then in the 4th step, we'll create a data source linking to the authentication provider and also, and again, referencing the Salesforce org's My Domain. Let's now move on to a demo to see this in action. So what we see on screen now is our Skuid Platform site. So this is the Skuid site that we're going to connect to our Salesforce org to start building our tailored user interfaces. Before we move into Salesforce, what we need to do is formulate our callback URL. So we can see here the domain of the Skuid site is skuid-shorts.skuidsite.com. So this is my particular Skuid Platform site. I'm just going to go into another browser tab and I'm just going to formulate the callback URL. And put that onto my clipboard and just check that that is correct. Now you don't have to remember how to formulate that off by hand. You can go to the documentation that I'll share a little bit later on in this video to remind you how you go about doing that. So we'll now go into our Salesforce org, and we've already done step 1. We've already installed Skuid within this Salesforce org. So what we can do now is go to the setup homepage. And if we go to apps and to the app manager, the next thing that we can go and do now is create a new connected app. This Salesforce org is in Lightning. You may have a slightly different view of the screen if your Salesforce org is still in Classic. So I'm going to give this connected app a name, which I'm going to call Skuid Platform. Just give it something that's recognizable, and obviously same for the API name. I'm just going to put in here my email address as the contact email. We need to enable the Oauth settings, and here this is where we need to put the callback URL of our Skuid Platform site. And then we also need to enable some of the Oauth scopes as well. These are all listed in the documentation. And now I can go and click on save and my connected app will be created. One of the really important things that this is going to do for us is going to create us a consumer key and also a consumer secret as well. So we're going to need to enter these back in our Skuid Platform site in just a second. One of the other things I'm just going to do here is just duplicate the Salesforce setup in another browser tab. And then within the setup, I'm going to go to My Domain. And we can see here the domain name of our Salesforce org. So we have all of the artifacts we need now from Salesforce. So we're going to go back into our Skuid Platform site. We can go to the configure area. And the first thing I'll go and do is into data sources is go and create myself an authentication provider. So I'll give this a name of Salesforce CRM. And then back in Salesforce, I'm just going to copy the domain name. So I'm going to choose the provider type here to Salesforce. So we can just get rid of this placeholder and add in the correct domain name. And then I now need to copy and paste in the client ID and secret. So first of all, the ID. And then the secret. And we can then click on save. So that is our authentication provider created. And now if we just go back to the configure area, we can now go and create a data source using the data source type of Salesforce. Again, I'm going to give this a name. I'm going to also call this Salesforce CRM. And then in the next step, again, we can reference the my domain. I'm going to reference that authentication provider I created a few moments ago and click on data source, and we're done. So we've now created a connection into our Salesforce org within our Skuid Platform site. Let's just go and do a quick test. So we'll go and create a new page in Skuid. Test Salesforce page. And now if we go and create a model, we have the data source type as Salesforce. It references that data source that we've just created. If we go and select an object, saying here login has been cancelled, we need to authenticate using Oauth, and sometimes the pop-ups are blocked for the first time, so that's normal behavior. Let's just allow those. And if we go and try and do that again, we then get the pop-up box. If the Oauth has been set up correctly, then we get the authentication box for username and password. So I'm just going to type in the username and password of my particular account back in that Salesforce system. And because Salesforce has two-factor authentication enabled in the particular Salesforce org we're connecting, I need to type that in. So the email has just come through. And with any luck now, if everything's worked correctly after I authorize the Skuid site, I should now see a list of all of the objects in my Salesforce org to connect to. Rather than view the complete list, let's just do the autocomplete on account, leave the default settings, and then we'll like to see the account name, and then we'll double tap on the model to create a real simple table to do a save and preview to check that the data is being called through. There we go. So we now see our account names coming from Salesforce. So those are the steps involved in connecting your Salesforce org into your Skuid Platform site through a connected app in Salesforce. You can view the full documentation about connecting Salesforce into Skuid and the callback URLs as spoken about earlier on at the following URLs. Thank you very much for watching.